This is the GTN show, welcome. Now whilst we're waiting for racing to resume, we thought we'd take this opportunity to reflect on some records. And Mark has come up with a compilation of the most impressive triathlon records. We've got Fraser bringing you the virtual reality racing, as well as pictures and posts from you guys and the pros. And then I'm going to be discussing the world of ultra running, as well as bringing a selection of triathlon related news stories.
Okay, we may not be able to race quite yet, but we can still geek out on races gone by. In fact, I have been busy compiling some of the most impressive records within triathlon because, well, why not? Now, I do understand if stats aren't your kind of thing, but hang with me here because some of these are truly amazing. I'm going to start out with the classics here over the iron distance. Now, the male and the female records are interestingly held on the same course over the Challenge Roth course over in Germany, which is infamously fast. Now the male time is held by none other than Jan Frodeno, a time of 7 hours, 35 minutes and 39 seconds. That was posted in 2016. I'm going to read out the splits here. A swim time of 45 minutes and 22 seconds, the bike 4:08, and the run 2:39 marathon to finish. The women's record is also held by none other than Chrissy Wellington, a time of 8 hours, 18 minutes and 13 seconds. That was posted in 2011 and still stands today. Splits for that as well, 49:49 for the swim, 4:40 for the bike, and wait for it, a 2:44 marathon to finish. I think it deserves being read out because that is just staggering. Now, I'm of course going to step it down a distance here, and also both of these times, male and female, are held over the same course, and that is the Bahrain course. Now, Christian Blumenfeld held the men's record, a time of 3 hours, 29 minutes and 4 seconds. That was posted in 2018 at Ironman 70.3 Bahrain. Although for the women's, it was actually Challenge Bahrain back in 2014 prior to it being bought out by Ironman. And that is by Hella Fredriksson, a time of 3 hours, 55 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, I'm going to drop down a distance again to the ITU Olympic distance, although it does get a little bit tricky and a little bit messy here because, well, it's draft legal. So I can't really come out with a fastest Olympic distance time, but I thought I'd pick it apart a little bit. So for the swim, we've got an impressive record by Richard Varga, who has led out the most swims within the ITU racing. So many, in fact, I can't actually pull together an exact number, but from the WTS races alone, it is in excess of 40 races. That's amazing, isn't it? Now, the fastest ever run times from the Olympic Games are held by Alistair Brownlee from the 2012 Olympic Games in London, a time of 29 minutes and 7 seconds over the 10K course. And then Emma Snowsill from the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games, a time of 33 minutes and 17 seconds. Now back to our long distance racing and the swim record from Kona. Now this one actually is held by a non-pro. It's Jan Siversen, who is actually the manager of Patrick Lange and I believe the owner or CEO of Sailfish. An impressive time of 46 minutes and 29 seconds, and that was posted in 2018. That is 1:13 per 100 over 3.8K, obviously open water. Pretty impressive. And then of course it's Lucy Charles Barkley that holds the female swim course record, a time of 48:48. The fastest iron distance bike times, Andy Starkovitz, no surprise there, 3 hours, 54 minutes and 59 seconds, posted at Ironman Texas in 2018. And then Daniela Reef, 4 hours, 26 minutes and 7 seconds. And this is from Ironman Hawaii, also in 2018. Which is amazing given that that is notoriously a tough bike course. That is obviously disregarding some of the Ironman Texas bike times from 2018 from the women's race because they were suspiciously fast. Slowest ever finisher at Kona, Walter Stack, 26 hours, 20 minutes and 25 seconds back in 1981. And that was obviously before they introduced the cutoff times. So that's quite an interesting record. Oldest ever finisher at Kona, Hiromu Inada, 85 years old in 2018. How amazing is that? Okay, these final few though, I did need to, well, pull on the help of Torsten Rad from Tri Rating, but they are absolutely fantastic facts. Most Ironman races won in 1 year, and that is by Bella Baylis, or formerly Comerford, 5 in 2008, Ironman South Africa, Ironman Lanzarote, Ironman UK, Umbraman, and Ironman Florida. Fastest Ironman debuts, Florian Anger, 7 hours, 45 minutes and 5 seconds from Ironman Barcelona 2019. Laura Phillip, 8 hours, 34 minutes and 57 seconds, Ironman Barcelona 2018. Most wins in the same Ironman race, and that is Cam Brown, 12 times. Ironman New Zealand. He did it from 2001 to 2005, 2007, 2011, 2015 and 2016. Most consecutive wins in the same Ironman race, and that is Ronnie Schildknecht. Ironman Switzerland, he was literally called Mr. Ironman Switzerland, 7 times, 2007 to 2013. And an interesting one here, because it's quite impressive as well, a non-Ironman race, Jesse Thomas actually won Wildflower 6 times. Although also just retired. Most long distance wins, Paula Newby Fraser, 28 wins between 1986 and 2004. And then finally, oldest winners of Kona, Natasha Badman at 38 years old in 2005, and Craig Alexander also at 38 years old in 2011. Whoo-wee! They were impressive though, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
We're back with triathlon news, and we're going to start off by talking of racing and looking ahead to next year, because the European Triathlon Long Distance Championships have a date and a location. They're going to be teaming up with Challenge Roth, being held on the 4th of July in 2021. And if you are German, you could actually be fighting for 2 titles, because it's going to double up as the German Championships as well as the European Championships and obviously Challenge Roth. So all to play for. They've had to allocate an extra 200 places for the European Championship slots because the event is actually sold out, but those are going to be divvied up among the national federations that are within Europe. And if you've already entered, then don't worry. If you're European and you have a valid license to your national federation, then you are actually eligible to compete in the European Championships. And it's not the first time that Roth have hosted a European Championships. Back in 1987, they had the middle distance event, and as recently as 2012, they also had the long distance event. I'm sure you've seen or heard a lot about virtual racing, and it gets pretty exciting. Well, Zwift have a potentially new feature which could take it up another level. They've been testing a beta version of something they're calling Zwift Boost, which allows you to potentially get an extra 500 watts during a race. Now, these races would be specific to being able to use that feature. And it doesn't come for free, you have to earn it. So it's basically like a battery that you have to charge up to then be able to release those powerful watts later on. And there's 3 different categories, so it kind of becomes rather tactical as to which option you choose. Obviously, this isn't yet out and they are still testing it. Well, the numbers currently look like this. So you've got the efficient boost, which would give you 50 watts of boost for up to 90 seconds, but that costs you 50 watts in charge that you have to do before. And it will also add 11 pounds to your avatar's weight, which you have to carry throughout the whole race. Then there's the balance boost, giving you 200 watt boost for up to 17 seconds, but you've got to charge your battery with an extra 100 watts beforehand. And then the most expensive one, but the most powerful one, you've got the power burst boost, which is 500 watts, but only for 5 seconds, and it would cost you 150 watts of charging, and you'd also have to carry an extra 22 pounds of weight throughout the race. So it's just adding another dimension. It'll be interesting to see if it makes it onto the platform for the rest of us to try and how that racing could shape up. But it is very much a different category of racing, so don't worry, you're not going to have to learn the tactics if you're going to carry on with normal Zwift racing. It's just another style to add to the mix. On to ultra running now. Have you ever thought about running across the state of Tennessee? Well, if you do want to, just so you know, it's over 1,000 kilometers wide. That's something that quite a few of you guys are apparently already up to, because it's a virtual reality race that's happening at the moment. You have until the end of August to complete this. Well, this mad event has been set up by none other than Lazarus Lake, the founder of the Barkley Marathons, which you might have heard of. Well, I have to admit that this has been going for a little while. So if you are just hearing about it now and you want to join up, you've got a bit of a challenge, because I've just done the maths. There's 9 weeks and 2 days left until the 31st of August, and you can't use any, obviously, previous mileage. So if you started today, the day the show goes out, that gives you 65 days of having to run 15.5 kilometers per day. So good luck if you do want to go and catch up with that one. However, if you want something that might be a bit more manageable, you have until the end of the week to do another challenge. This one is the Centurion Running One Community, and you've got different options of distances you want to run. Again, you log it all on the online platform. You've got an option of a 5K, a 10K, half marathon, marathon, 50K, 50 mile, or 100 mile. And you can do it as quick as you like, but obviously you do have to have finished it by Sunday. And there is an entry fee with this one, but again, it's another great cause for charity and also another personal challenge. It comes as no surprise that there's been another event cancellation. This time it's UTMB, one of the toughest ultramarathons in the world that's held in the Alps through France, Italy and Switzerland. It was due to happen in August, and crossing all of those borders and being a mass participation event, it's not really a surprise that it has had to cancel its event. But last year's winner, Pel Capel, decided just 2 days after hearing this that he was not going to accept the cancellation, and has announced that he is still going to run the event with his own support team, but it's been met with a bit of controversy. Well, obviously, Po is a very experienced athlete, having won the event last year, covered the 171 kilometres in 20 hours and 19 minutes. Now, he might not be quite that fast without the adrenaline of having competitors chasing him down, but he's still going to have his support team with him and obviously knows the route very well. But there is that concern that it could encourage others to go along and try and follow suit, who could maybe not as prepared or having the same support team. Now, Po is completing this, or planning to complete the course, 4 days after the actual event would be happening, and he's been quite vocal about it. And it's great to see a professional athlete going and challenging themselves and inspiring the rest of us. But could it be setting a dangerous precedent and getting more people to go out to the Alps and actually push themselves maybe beyond their limits when there isn't a safety crew and support people that would normally be at an event? Well, it's got us thinking, and moving on to this week's poll with a question related to that of, basically, do you guys think that we should still go and compete in events if we have trained for them? And if so, how? So yes, at the same time and date as though the event was happening. Yes, but on a different time and date, but still the same place. Yes, but only the distance, not that actual route or location itself. Or no, it's irresponsible. We don't need to be worried about competing at the moment. Well, you can enter that, and the options are just up here in the link above my head. And now it's time for the results from last week's poll. When we asked, are you planning on going open water swimming in the next week or two? And I was surprised to see that 71% of you said yes, you are, and 29% said no. And I was definitely joining you in the yes camp there.
Right guys, now I'm back yet again with some virtual race news for you, and I'll get started with the Zwift Racing and their now familiar Z Pro Tri Race Series, because this is the 6th event that they have put on in a row now, and I am quite excited about these results, but I'll get to that in a little while. And the racing this week consisted of 14 short punchy laps around the downtown Dolphin circuit within the Crit City World on Zwift. Now, first up were the women, and we actually had a new name atop the leaderboard this week, and that was Antonina Reznikov, who pipped not one but 4 Brits for that win. In second place we had Ruth Assel, third went to Fenella Langridge, fourth was Sophie Caldwell, who's won some of these races in the past, and then fifth was Laura Siddall. So some great racing there. Moving on to the men's results, and we had a very big bunch sprint come to the line, and we had some familiar names in there, but again, a new winner as well. That was James Kunema, who took that win from seasoned winner Lionel Sanders. Third place went to Jackson Landry, and then we had yet again Rhys Barkley pipping Alistair Brownlee, fellow Brit, for that 4th and 5th slots, just like we saw last week. But I did say I was really excited about these results, and that is because our very own Mark got to race this week. Now, he equipped himself amazingly. Now, I'm sure that you will understand that he was pretty nervous about this, but he stuck in there and mixed it all the way to the line with those big guns and took a very, very impressive 13th place in that sprint result at the end. Now, if you haven't already seen it, we've done a video all about this, and Mark shows you just how deep he dug in that video. Now then, it is the time of the Ironman VR results, and this was a slightly different format this week with Instead of racing happening over the course of the weekend, we had all of the racing on the one day, and that format was for the 4 professional women to start their 40-kilometre time trial, and then 3 minutes later, the men to chase them down. Now, there was also an added twist in that they'd all been paired off into 4 mixed teams, just for some extra incentive when they were racing. So in terms of the results, the women's was taken by Imogen Simmons in a time of 57.34, second was Fenella Langridge in a time of 58.03, third was her fellow Brit Susie Cheetham in 58.28, and Maja Stajan Nielsen was fourth in 1 hour and 30 seconds. On the men's side of things, that was dominated by Andy Bokerer with a time of 52.49. Second was Patrick Nielsen in 53.46, just in front of Chris Lieferman in 53.51, and fellow American Kevin Collington rounding out with a 55.24. And in terms of those mixed teams that I talked about, well, we had Team Simmons-Bokerer winning with Cheetham Lieferman in second, Langridge and Collington in third, and then the Nielsen pairing in fourth. Now, before I finish up with the VR racing, we also wanted to mention Team Agar, because that is Johnny and his dad who have posted up on their Twitter page them getting their race results done this weekend too. And that is Johnny being pushed by his dad for the run portions and then sitting on the back of the tandem bike with his dad out there on the ride as well. And as Johnny himself says, thanks to Ironman for keeping us all racing. Just thought that was a really nice little video to finish up with. Right, so now it's time to take a quick sneak peek at your training locations, whether they be indoors or outdoors. We love to receive them. And we've actually got a couple of videos to start things off with here. And the first of those comes from Sam. Now, he explains that during lockdown, he had to find somewhere different to be able to go swim. And I think you'll be pretty impressed with this one. Well, Sam, I hope you managed to get out of that water safely, because that current looked pretty strong to me. But please do let us know where you're swimming. We'd love to know. It looks absolutely stunning. And hey, you've got your very own real-life endless pool there. Now, moving on to another video, and this is from Brynjar in Harstad in Norway. Now, he is telling us how he has been managing to follow Mark's high-intensity 5K training plan.
A little hello from Norway, northern part, as you can see. I've taken the GTN's challenge 5K. Chosen the high intensity. Just done the last interval at the 5th week. And we have the test. Love it. Thanks for the challenge.
Well, I hope that you managed to get a very good PB when you do your time trial, which will be this coming week, I think. Please let us know what time you managed to hit. Now, moving on to a picture here, and this is from Victor in Stille, Switzerland. He says, improvising an open water swim session just out of my front door. And he says, trying to find the right current. So he says he's staying safe on his little graphics he showed us here, close to the edge, which is always sensible, and rather avoiding the fast lane, as he's put it, to the nuclear power plant. So I certainly hope that you manage to stay away from that, which is obviously further downstream. Stay safe in your swimming, Victor, but thanks for that picture. Now, next up, we've got a classic pain cave here. Thanks to Shriniwa for sending this in from Arlington in Virginia, and she or he says, this is my first home pain cave. I saved up a year for this and finally have my setup as I intended it to be. Now, we've got a felt S32 mounted on a Wahoo kicker running up to Zwift there on the TV. Not one, but 2 treadmills I can see here, and then a whole home gym setup. So no wonder you're super proud of that. It looks like a fantastic place to get your training done. So hopefully you're getting loads of really good indoor sessions done in there. Thanks for letting us see that. And then finally, we've got Lucas, who is in Singapore, the Gardens by the Bay, he tells us, riding his Canyon Speedmax CF8 with Di2. And he says, finally, after 2 months in the Turbo Trainer, the standard training route feels amazing to be outside again. Thanks for sending that in, Lucas, and I hope you're safe out there getting your riding done. And remember, you can all send in your pictures or videos. You can do that using the uploader, which is on screen now. So now it's time to have a quick look at what the pros have been sharing with us on their social media feeds. And like last week, yep, I have got a running theme for you. Not as long as the marathon, but this week we're talking about speed, the 5K. And the first story that caught my eye comes from Richard Murray. Now, a couple of weeks ago, he stated his aim to try and go sub 14 for that 5K. Well, he's now released the time that he managed to do, and it is a scintillating 13:37 that he ran on the local roads round the town where he's been living in Holland with his wife, Rachel Clammer, during lockdown. Now, to be able to do a time like that on your own in essentially time trial format is incredibly impressive. So I'm sure that he is looking forward to carrying that form into racing sooner rather than later. But I also wonder if he maybe gave some inspiration to some Norwegians that he often races against, because the coach to Gustav Iden, Kasper Storns and Christian Blumenfeld just released the results, shall we say, of an informal race that they organised with some local runner friends in Norway. Well, Christian won it with an equally fast time of 13:51. Then we had Gustav Iden coming in with 14:07 and Kasper Storns rounded out the triathletes in 14:13. So it's super fast running, and I do wonder if we'll see some more pros doing something similar in the next little while during lockdown. Now, a final story that I also noted comes from New Zealand, and that is Cameron Brown, the legend that has won so many Ironmans. Well, he is 47 now, and he says he wants to keep racing until he's 50. So in doing so, he thinks signing with Hoki Oni Oni is going to help him, because their shoes, he says, are very cushioned, and he's hoping that that will give him that little bit of extra help along the way to racing until he's 50. So we look forward to following you doing that, Cam. Nice one. Now, before you forget, there is the 5K finale coming up this coming weekend of Mark and Heather. Now, you can keep your eyes peeled this weekend to see what times they post for 5K. Now, talking about Mark, let's get back to him now for the caption competition.
All right, it's me again, time for the caption competition. Your chance to get your hands on a GTN swimming cap that hopefully isn't as creased and as sandy as this one. Last week's caption comp photo came from the 2009 ITU World Championships over on the Gold Coast. It was of Chloe Turner throwing a load of water over herself, and a number of you were making light of the current COVID-19 pandemic. Luke Alexander said water replaced by hand sanitizer. Very good. And we had a number of you with a similar vein of thought. Amber Kennedy, when you have no choice but to improvise the swim. Ian Jones, if I spray enough, can I class it as my swim? Barrack, closest thing to a swim I've had in a while. But the winner goes to Zach Martinez, said hydrodynamics. All the pros are doing it. Very good, get in touch. We will ping a cap out to you ASAP. But for this week's caption comp photo, it actually comes from Sarah Piano. Having to improvise during the current pandemic. She said she's been doing a lot of her training indoors and with training partners over Zoom calls, but she has been able to get into a local lagoon, and I believe with a training partner here, Chelsea Sodaro, but with all the toys and essentials at hand and at her disposal there. So please leave your captions in the comments section below. But that does round out the show for this week. I hope you have enjoyed it. We've got loads coming up on the channel this week. We've got a really exciting challenge between Heather and Lucy Charles Barkley. Even I'm excited to see what goes on there. So stay tuned for that. We've also got us rounding up our 5K challenge, where we'll be posting our 5K time, so you can see how we've got on, but also let us know how you've been getting on as well. Don't forget, we've also got the GTN shop if you'd like to get hold of any of our GTN kit. Also some indoor training bundles still there if you are still doing a lot of indoor training. I know I am. If you've enjoyed today's show, make sure you give it a like and make sure you've subscribed to GTN already. And if you'd like to see some of our previous videos, we've got a great indoor pain cave from Luke and Beth McKenzie. You can see that by clicking just down here. And if you'd like to see a cost per watt video, well, I'll be analysing the cost of certain products and how many watts they'll save you. You can see that by clicking just down here.